I guess this is kind of very much related because the next segment is we're going to talk about our favorite hustles in freight. We have to pick one that's legal and then one that's illegal. So we got a cargo crimes portion of this, and then we also have businesses that are doing something in the freight space. Maybe it's a side hustle, maybe it's a little side quest that you're working on that we want to highlight on this show. And the first one I want to mention on the legal, like legitimate side of things is ISO. It's a company called Isometric Technology, which bills themselves as an accurate all your data in one place as a single source of truth. Think of like a credit score for freight
Yes.
brokers and carriers, and so shippers know who to work with more, but also from a brokerage perspective, from a carrier perspective, you have a better idea of what your data, how it's benchmarked against other brokers, and then also from a
Mhm.
carrier perspective, how you're performing against other carriers, where you can improve. And also, I think it's a really good benchmark to give yourself access to that data to know which shippers you're more beneficial. It works out better for you, so you can compare those numbers as to what freight you can go after more. So I think it's the first of the industry, and I think a couple people from Uber Freight are part of the executive team, part of the founder team. But that's a really cool business that I think is fairly new, that's coming onto the scene.
Yeah, I was joking with Blythe before this because I quite literally just wrapped up a call with them before coming on here to learn more about what they're doing, and it's absolutely incredible. What's really cool about this too is like the data side of things. They are the benchmarking side I think is huge. Uh I could see people inside themselves trying to say, "Listen, I think I can build this internally." Well, you can't because you need to be
Mm.
Switzerland. You can't be a benchmarker. Uh, e at least a smart shipper and a smart customer carrier should know internally that if the company I'm working with is creating their own benchmarking tool, well, they're probably benchmarking themselves better than they probably should, right? Like, they're gonna skew not even like in an unethical way, but like, why wouldn't you skew
Mhm.
that to showcase that you're the best? And this is a third party way of getting a true, like you said, credit score of where you stand in the industry. And it is, I mean, absolutely incredible. I mean, some of the stuff I was seeing, like there was there's a lot of I think math and statistics behind, especially more of a medium-sized brokerage with limited resources that takes a lot of work in Tableau and takes a lot of
Mm.
analytics in order for you to solve. A perfect example is they have a tool that allows you to see how much money you're losing as a company
Hmm.
from drop off carriers. So let's say you're a big spot broker and you deal a lot with carriers taking a load. Oh, they call back an hour later, can't take it, sorry. Like they can in an instant tell you how that difference, right? So like let's say you rebook it for $100 more, how much you've spent as a company dealing with those situations. So let's say it comes back and it says that your company has lost $100,000 over the last year on drop off carriers, which in my head means that we're probably not doing a great job building good carrier relationships.
Hmm.
So if I'm losing $100,000 a year, I should probably invest in a $60,000 good carrier representative who's going to go out there and build carrier relationships.
Hmm.
Or let's say that it comes back $100,000 and you're looking to invest in a carrier platform, something like maybe like off the top of my head, I'm thinking maybe like Parade or something like that. And now you know, okay, like I'm losing this. Like you really get to see the ROI and some
Hmm.
of the decisions that you make. And that's just difficult for again medium-sized broker, even some large ones to truly wrap their head around. So it's like they dive into those areas. You're right, they showcase to you like the lanes that you're killing it on, but the carriers that are maybe pulling down your performance. But it also benchmarks that same carrier's performance on that lane for other people. So like let's say for other people they're doing great, but for your company they're just like shitting the bed. Well, talk about what to do with your carrier reps. Pick up the phone and figure out what's happening there. And we always talk about, right, like how tech can help with the human side of things. That's the perfect example of it.
For sure.
Um, that the benchmarking tool is absolutely. I got to really learn what that company was doing today. That's why it's like perfect timing that you bring this up. And yes, it's funny. I was sitting there really trying to think who could compete with this, and there's companies that might showcase the data side. I don't know if they get as in depth in terms of lanes, receivers, shippers, etc. But the benchmarking tool, that's a tough one to get around. And yeah, very excited to see how that company is going. Hopefully, gonna learn more about them, do some work with them as well. But it's there a lot of big names have brought them up to me in the past, and I'm excited to learn more about it because I think that's just an incredible tool for those who don't have time to invest in a bunch of Tableau builders, right? Like within their own four
Ugh.
walls. Like, why
It's a
do
whole
that?
other, like, yeah, it's a whole other set of, I think, just realization of you can't improve what you don't measure. And when you're
Yeah.
in the trenches every day of just trying to survive and trying
Mhm.
to get the next load covered, then it takes maybe a company like this to be able, or a service like this to be able to maybe once a quarter take a look back and take an eagle eye view of what's worked well and what hasn't worked well, and then you can build it into your daily routine, into your weekly routine of the things that you're trying to identify where you can offer those cost savings. And I think too, like, if you imagine, like, maybe like a regional, leader of, inside a brokerage. We used to have, like, Northeast, the person who was, the manager of, like, the Northeast, and he had a bunch of brokers underneath him. Southeast, Northwest, all that, different regions of the United States. But imagine, like, somebody like that being able to look at their numbers of what their team is doing, and then having a benchmark, and then being able, like, in the next 6 months, be able to go back to the executive team or the C suite and say, hey, like, here's where we are, and here's how we made all of the improvements. Like, that is right there, financial ROI. Like, you are proving the value of you and your team, from a very, like, deeply personal level. And it
Yeah.
could make for a good opportunity for, if this is working well for maybe this department, maybe it could work really well for the LTL department, or for, maybe LTL is a bad example to use here, but maybe those other regional, divisions within your own company could stand to improve based on those things of what other departments are doing based on these numbers that you're getting.
Yeah. No, it's there's so many, and like I mean, to even dive into, like, you could potentially use that, right, to send your own shipper your performance, right, and showcase, like, here's why we need
Yes,
more lanes.
great
Or
marketing.
yes, yes, yeah, put that into a beautiful little PDF, throw that
Anybody who
thing on
has over, like, a
LinkedIn.
700 credit score is, like,
Yeah,
probably bragging about it. You could be too, of your freight brokerage, that we have an 800 credit score, come work with us, and any shipper would see that and be like,
yeah,
I'll listen.
exactly. And down to the lane, right? So, like, maybe something comes over and you're like, "Listen, this is just not in our lane, but, we do have a carrier that runs it perfectly and has run it perfectly for others out there, but they're at $30 more,"
Hmm,
like, I yeah, blown away. That
okay.
one,
So,
good company.
legitimate business. Did you have one to share, or do you wanna move on to the cargo crimes aspect?
I'll highlight one really quick for everyone. This is like a company I wrote about, I think, a while ago, but I think when it comes to, again, a company that could really help a medium-sized brokerage get some customers that they might feel like they don't have the technology support for. It's a company called Orderful. Uh, buddy Eric runs the company, and the best way to explain it is company has built and also, like, has pretty much all of the EDI information needed to get set up with pretty much every large shipper company you could ship with available out there. And he's built this API, like, cloud. It's API for EDI powering. And
Huh.
so it's it allows you because
Combining the enemies?
yes, right? Exactly. So if your system, you'd rather like set up an APIs and you can create kind of that connection between the two. I've had the reason I learned about them was a company that reach I mean you can read some of their stories too. I won't say the company's name, but they'd reached out to them on Christmas Eve to set up with a Fortune 10 shipper,
Oh, wow.
and had them up and running in less than 24 hours.
Wow.
So the way I kind of see them as a partner is, let's say you are a medium-sized company and you get that big shipper on the phone and they say, listen, we have to set up an EDI connection in order for me to tender you over anything. And then you've spent so much time trying to get the right person on the phone, right? Doing all this work, probably bidding, all this nonsense. And now you get to this point and you don't have someone in your back office that can do that. Well, you can reach out to this company and they'll do it for you
Oh, cool.
very quickly. I'm trying to think. I just saw on their site they had certain like uptimes, and I've honestly heard of faster. So um if you're going through their back end integration, um, eh, eh, they
Cool.
say 9 days or less to go live. If you're using some other type of EDI service and they're just supporting you, then it's, most EDI services are 90 days plus.
Hmm.
So it's like they've built almost like all the connections that you need to really get these large companies as a partner, to name some: Walmart, Schneider, Staples, Walgreens, Meijer, FedEx, Chewy, Aldi, Cisco, Volvo. So if you're looking to reach out to those customers and move their freight, they're going to tell you immediately, basically, who's your tech guy? Let me get in touch with our tech guy and we'll make the connections. If you don't have them there, you might lose that, right? Like lose that customer and have to rebuild it. So really cool company. Again, just like ISO, I've heard incredible things from customers. And
Oh, beautiful
it's
site too.
yeah,
This is
beautiful.
a really well-designed site.
And it's just
Oh,
such a simple problem that so many people have. Um, yeah, like, read through some
beautiful.
of the really great reviews from and you
I
know a
love the
company is good.
testimonials, like, front and center that I love
Yes.
that. Love it.
Well, and what's interesting, right, is, like, in flip the market, a lot of those were just shippers that you just saw. I mean, they were probably like, we need to be able to onboard some of these carriers and these brokers ASAP, right? Because we can't find capacity anywhere. And then now on the opposite, now the other side. Now they can help out those who want to get set up with Walmart right away so that they can, move those shipments and keep their business going. It's just such a I there's nothing I love more than a simple problem
Hmm.
that and someone finds a simple solution. There's no like crazy like movement from the company into other areas of integration. They're just like, no, this is what we do and we do it well. And here's people to tell you that you can trust us. So yeah, that's probably one of my favorites.